There is more dyeing. There's more dyeing. Unless you want to make it all from scratch, but why? That's exciting.
G'day everyone and welcome to a brand new series. This series is called Breakdown Wednesdays, where I take an image or a character that you guys have recommended to me and I break down the design. And then at the end of the day, we decide whether or not this cosplay would break down me if I tried to do it. And starting us off, because Halloween is next week, we have Sunset Dragon's design of these two pumpkin ladies. I love these two ladies so very much, and I thought it would be a really lovely place to start. It was recommended to me by one of my followers on Instagram, and yeah, let's start breaking it down. You're getting 2 for 1 today, guys, 2 for 1. So starting off, let's start off with the dress lady, shall we? So the very first thing is that I also want to state that this reminds me of Rachel Maxey. It just does. I don't know why. I think it's just the hair and the fact that it's pumpkins, but it's all good. We're going to go past that and keep moving forward. Though I'd love for her to do one of these. All right, so let's talk about this lady over here. The wig is going to be the kind of bobby kind of at the front, and then we've got the crown, which is, you know, braids. So we've got braids in there. But then we have long hair coming down at the back as well. So when we're styling that, we have to keep that in mind, and we have to make sure that we are essentially creating the 2 braids that are coming around from here, not actually up here because we've got the fringe that's going to be like lots of volume, but the braids coming around and underneath, and then the hair from like here downwards coming down. Could look quite pretty. Could look quite pretty. Or a reverse mullet, I'm not sure, but you know, that's one of the things that I love about these types of cosplays, is that they're really like fantasy. So I appreciate that. So we've got long hair, and I'll just make a little note over here, so long hair. Okay. All right, then what we have, if we work down, okay, let's start from like the base layers and then work up. So first thing that I always do is have a look at the shoes, because the shoes will determine the length in which you have to make the rest of the outfit. So get your shoes first. What we have here is we've got some really cute orange pumps. Orange pumps. And you could easily sculpt that if you wanted to with some foam clay and then paint over the top so you get that pumpkin kind of shape. Otherwise, you could always do a boot cover. I've got a tutorial, or shoe cover should I say. I've got a bit of a tutorial about that on my YouTube channel. Totally not plugging it, but I am. So you could also make that shape and kind of cover at least the front of it with that. And then with this, it would be really cute if you did these with like pearls, I think. Like just cute little pearls in there, just a little bit of an accent, a little bit of detail. Bob's your uncle. So then we've got these stockings. You know, they do look like they're actually an ombre, like a deep green. So deep green to the black or very dark green up the top. You could very well do that and get like a pair of tights that are like a darker green, and then do a very quick kind of black dye bath if you wanted to, and to get that gradient effect. Otherwise, honestly, you could probably just get away with either dark green or even black tights. You know, it would lend itself. It's fine. But I do know that Sunset Dragon loves her ombre. So there you go. And so we've got the deep green to dark green ombre types. Okay. Beautiful. Now what we are going to talk about is this underdress. Now, this is where it starts getting complicated, because you've got this beautiful kind of flowing kind of skirt that is open at the front. It's got all these kind of waterfall kind of ruffles at the front. And you've got these like green lines from the leaves as well. So the green veins, okay? And this is gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be fun. So how I would do this is I would honestly create a circle skirt to get the majority of this kind of drapage, like going all the way around. A very long circle skirt. I honestly don't think it needs to be any more than a circle skirt, because when you have a long circle skirt, as soon as you add like more length, the more it pulls at the base of it all. So I do that. The base as a big circle skirt, but then where it's cut, so you'd need to cut the circle skirt and have like an opening at the front. I would probably then do some sort of like French seam or something like that and connect a kind of waterfall kind of type pleat. So for those who don't know what that is, I've also got a tutorial about that for waterfall tails. And it's essentially like a circle skirt, but the circle is kind of like the waist kind of inner circle is kind of off-centered. And so you have like a kind of like a croissant kind of shape. And what happens is when you pleat that down, it creates this beautiful kind of waterfall. So that is exactly what I think is going on here. And if you connect it in like behind where these kind of ruffles are, or rather falls, you know, you won't notice that seam line. And of course, before I connect any of that, I would probably go ahead and do this, you could do it with ribbon, okay? So you could do it with ribbon, or you could do it with embroidery, like freehand embroidery, which could be a lot of fun if you enjoy freehand embroidery, or like a satin stitch or something like that. That could create a really cool effect. Maybe not satin stitch, because that might make it a little bit too stiff. So maybe freehand embroidery and just doing like single lines and maybe like a double line or something like that. I think just so that way you still keep the flowing of that fabric, because this fabric seems to be something like a chiffon or something like that. Something that has a lot of flow to it. You could probably get away with like a low sheen satin if you wanted to. Just depends on what your taste is. But this too is ombre. Sunset Dragon and her ombres. I love it. No, they always look so beautiful, but anyone who's done ombre dye before, you know that it can be a absolute pain. Or the other way with doing the veins is you could also airbrush it, or you could do some sort of like fabric paint on it. But yeah, you'd need to make sure that you're feeling confident in doing that. Otherwise, it could just look like a hot mess. Don't do anything heavy, is what I'm saying for these extra lines down here. But yes, that is what I would do there. Moving on to this pumpkin skirt. Oh, this is fun. Okay, so the first thing I notice, okay, and I'm jumping around here, but the first thing I notice is that you've got these strings of pearls, and I would do them as pearls, even though they're like water droplets or something like that. I would do them as pearls and like match it up with the pearls that you see on the shoes. All right. And for these bunching, I would honestly just play around with it. I would do like pin it on the dress form and then just kind of manipulate the fabric and like hang it up, pin, and like get it all into position. And so you'd have like a connection here, connection over here, connection over here and here. And they don't have to be absolutely perfect. You could just play around with that. And then you have like a backing one behind, which actually looks like it sits behind the skirt, kind of like a vanity panel, which is always good if you have a split skirt in the front, because you don't want the whole world to see that. So yeah, I would actually just kind of freak style it, if that makes sense, and have those drapes put onto a mannequin, pin it, and then hand sew the gathers together, and connect the pieces together that way, and then reinforce it with a machine after that, and then put the string of pearls over the top, because that is how I live. All right, moving now on to the bodice, which I would probably construct this as a corset with a corset back. So let's do corset, okay? Now, oh, and for the pumpkin skirt, I would do that in a type of fabric that is probably going to be probably like a low sheen satin, because I think that when you have like drapes like that, you want to be able to see a little bit of shine to it, but not too much. You don't want it to be like party satin and being like, oh, in my face. I would honestly do that with a low sheen satin and, you know, play around with the bunching and all of that to make sure it all works. But yes, for the corset, there is more dyeing. There's more dyeing. And this is going to be a cool ombre dye from orange to green. It is possible. So you could start off with a yellow base and then add some, you know, orangey red and some blue and dye it. You've got to do test pieces. Otherwise, you could just straight up start with a white based fabric or an orange based fabric, and maybe with a green dye, play around with that. Could make your life easier if you're just starting with an orange base and then a green dye, and hopefully the green dye takes. I don't know, I've never done this color combination, but I would imagine that it would be a little bit difficult to kind of figure that one out, but I think it could work. I think you could make it work. So I would do this in corset panels. So I would say that that is a line there and there. That's terrible, Kiralee. But you know what I mean. So it would be a very simple corset base. And of course put boning here, here on the back and on the sides. And then also obviously 2 on the back panels. And I would even do like a boning right here as well. And then what you would do is you would also do some more embroidery, or if you wanted to, satin stitching on the bodice. Because the bodice is not like free flowing, you could play around with a bit. You could even do rhinestones if you wanted, just to get these kind of details in here, which is really, really cool. And of course, when you're making your bodice, you would also need to pattern out the bottom being like scalloped, to create these kind of leaf effects, which is very, very cool. I'm moving quite quickly here. I do apologize. Hopefully you're enjoying this. All right, so moving up here, what we have here is we've got a sheer piece of fabric going across onto the shoulders, and I would continue that around and to the back where the laces start. So you've got to, just for ease of putting it on, making sure that that is, the laces are free from like additional, you know, lace going over the top. It's not fun to do. When you don't have a back image like this, you can kind of make it up. Sometimes you can ask the artist and they are very, very lovely and will tell you what they envisioned for the back. And I really appreciate all the artists that I've reached out to who have given me some of that information. For the leaves, you could certainly make these yourself if you wanted to. I think one of the coolest things I've ever seen is having embroidery, like doing the leaves out of like an embroidered kind of lace kind of situation. Embroidery, lace, you could even get lace pieces, or you could even get fake leaves. Fake leaves? Oh my God. Brain, I'm sorry. Let me just have some Diet Coke. And then from there you have an entire sleeve. So you've got the undersleeve here, once again, ombre. And this I would do in like some sort of stretch material. So maybe a similar material as what the tights would be made out of as the undersleeve, and then have it elasticated at the wrist and just have that coming out as a natural ruffle. So if you have some sort of fabric, even if it's elasticated, and then you cut it wider at the wrist, but then you elasticate it at the wrist, so you've got like a little bit of a section here that's a bit longer, then that means that it's going to be create this really cute little ruffle that's very easy to create. We'll get to the pumpkin sleeve in a moment, but from underneath the pumpkin sleeve there's another kind of sleeve, like an oversleeve, which appears to be some sort of netting, and it's got little pearls on it. So that's fun. So getting a wide net and then putting some pearls on it, or rhinestones, and then having at the wrist some lace with some more pearls going around, and that would need to be on an elasticated kind of like wrist, like band, that's the word I'm looking for, so that way it could stretch as you put your hand through, because let's face it, you don't want to do all this work and the first time you try and put your hand through something, it bursts. So there's that. For these beautiful pumpkin sleeves, which I love, I would do these as just like a puff sleeve, but I would cut off the kind of arm side. So essentially you're just creating like a large kind of balloon shape that goes around, and do elastication, elastic here and here. And you could even do a double sleeve. So you've got like a slim sleeve in the middle, which connects to the undersleeve. But then you have this oversleeve, which you could then pad out with something like either tulle or like tontine, and that would create that look. And then you've also got a little bit of a neck detail out of leaves, so you could do the same that you do for here, and also a little pumpkin and leaves up here as well. So for the pumpkin, you know, you could do that out of foam clay, or if you can find a cute little pumpkin from like Joann's or Spotlight, if you're in Australia like me, I know they exist around Halloween, and you could put those with the leaves. I would honestly do this leaf, and this leaf in the same kind of way, so it all marries together. That's something that's really important to me, is making sure that it looks like it should all be together. And then the last part of this outfit is of course this back kind of sleeve thing, and honestly I would do this out of the same fabric as what you're doing the base dress out of, and then there is the ombre dye as well. So it looks like it's just a very long piece of fabric that you could even connect up into the back of the skirt, so that it's not, you know, falling down. It does look like it's going up, so you could connect that to the back of the skirt, and essentially you could do like a lettuce hem to create this kind of effect. A lettuce hem is where you, like when you hem it, you are doing on the bias and you put like fishing wire in there, and that creates this beautiful kind of curl effect. I've never done it myself, but it's on my list. One day I will. So lettuce hem, lettuce hem. Yeah, so that is how I would do that one. Whew. All right, let's go through how we would do the warrior. I love this warrior design. It is so cool. Oh, but I just need a little moment. Hang on. All right, so here we have this warrior design, and yeah, I really, really dig it. The wig is different. So the wig is this cute bob. Oh my gosh, I love it. Bob. All right. And then for the helmet, we've got like a half pumpkin, which I adore, like half pumpkin, or rather the top of a pumpkin. And honestly, I would do this out of foam, and I'd do the sculpting out of foam clay, sorry. Foam clay. Because that's going to be light on your head. I know personally, I suffer from headaches and migraines all the time. And so when I'm cosplaying, the last thing I want to do is have any kind of like heaviness on my head. So the fact that this is a cute bob and then like something foam that's light on my head, that'd be fine. And I would honestly just connect that with like a comb. So just one of those little plastic combs that's about that big. You could glue that or stitch it into the base of the hat, and then that can just slide into your wig and you won't even feel it. Let's move on to the outfit now. So let's start with these crazy boots. So these are going to be, you know, knee-high boots that you're going to be altering. So you would need to find a boot shape that is similar to this, unless you want to make it all from scratch, but why? So for this one, I would find a knee-high boot, and then all of these kind of details like the leaves and the pumpkin. I love the pumpkin knee guard, it's fantastic. I would do this out of foam. So the boot base, I would do that. I'd try and find a boot base that is either white or a light brown, so then that way I can stain it with leather paint or fabric paint, depending on what type of boot I get, to get this cool like orange effect. And then for the top here, for this little bit of green up here, I would do that probably as some sort of fabric, maybe some sort of lace, some way that I would do these kind of leaves that are featuring on the rest of the outfit as well. The tights are just deep green tights, no ombre, so you could just either buy or make the tights. They actually have a seam line in them. That's exciting. So, you know, you can make them yourselves and there is a seam line. I love that, I love that. So we've got the deep green tights. All right, let's talk about these shorts because I love them. I love a good puffy short. So firstly for the leaves that are featured on the outfit all over, I would probably do those in either fabric, or I would look at doing them as like an embroidered lace like we talked about with this one. Or you could do fake leaves as well, whatever takes your float. Because there are so many of these, I would probably do them as some sort of fabric, and like just kind of use my airbrush and fabric paint to give it the depths of each of the leaves individually. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. So let's just do either fake leaves, fabric leaves, or embroidery. I'd probably head towards the fabric for this one, just because of how big they are, how many they are, and where they all are. For the bodice, I love this bodice. I really actually prefer the kind of warrior over the lady. Like, I love this design so much. So for the bodice, we've got a really cute, you know, high neck collared one that kind of looks like armor, but honestly, you could do this out of fabric. Oh, I've forgotten about shorts. Oh my gosh, I just talked about the leaves and then jumped over the shorts. We'll come back to the bodice. So for the shorts, you're gonna create a very basic short pattern, but then you're just gonna add a whole lot of volume, like a ridiculous amount of volume. So volume, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're going to do an elasticated gather or elasticated hem at the short area here. That's going to be covered by leaves anyway, so it's absolutely fine. And then all you do with these is these strips, you could either try and find some really wide green ribbon with a silver edge or a white edge, or so they can be ribbon, or you could make them. Like, honestly, they're just straight pieces of fabric, or straight pieces of fabric that you could then edge with a white or silver ribbon. And that will look really cool. And that way you've got a little bit more control over that. And the cool thing about that one is that, you know, make sure that they are like completely sealed. So just either one or two pieces of fabric that are sewn together, turn it inside out so all the raw pieces are on the inside, give that a really good press. That's going to be really nice, really flat, and then the ribbon on the edges will just make it beautiful. You could also do it out of bias binding. That's also another option, and that will make it look real smig. Now let's move on to the bodice. So for the bodice, this is absolutely beautiful already. We do have a slight ombre dye, and for this one, it looks like it's going to be a princess cut. We've got a seam line that comes here, and then we've got a clear seam line that comes here. This is one of the things that I love about Sunset Dragon. Because she is a cosplayer as well as a designer, she puts seam lines in, and it makes me happy. She understands, unlike a lot of designers, that they don't understand that human proportions and realizing how fabric needs to go onto you. So, you know, it's fantastic that we've got those seam lines here. And for that ombre dye, so it's just going to be a high collared princess seamed one, and the collar is going to be just a very kind of flat, high, open collar, not too hard to draft, and beautiful. For this, you've got a little bit of details down here with these little circles. honestly, you could do those with some embroidery floss if you wanted to, and even go over the seams with embroidery floss just to make it looking real like the picture, give it a bit of cartoonish. Then we've got the cutest puff sleeves ever. Oh my goodness me, I love the puff sleeves. And for the puff sleeves, I would do pearls or rhinestones. And I would, actually for this one, I would probably do rhinestones, because I could add little rhinestones to here as well to give that little sparkle there. Oh, that'd be really cute. So that's how I would do those. Nice puff sleeve. I would probably put a straight sleeve in the inside to give it the support, and then go from there. Then we've got some long sleeves. Honestly, if you wanted to, you could do the same as what you do the tights, because they look to be the same. So we've got tights fabric again, and just sew them, you know, and I would actually connect that from the arm side and have that going all the way down, just to, you know, keep you happy. Then we've got some nice plain brown long gloves. I would probably try and do these out of some sort of faux leather, or just try and find some nice brown gloves. There's nothing too crazy about them, so that's cool. All right, let's go on to the props for this one though. Okay, so firstly, let's start off with the part that I absolutely adore, which is this. Well, I was going to talk about the shield, but we've not talked about the cape. So the cape, the cape is connected, I reckon, at the top here at the back. Now, you can't see how it's connected, which means that you can use your imagination. For me, I would probably have it kind of along the shoulders. So just underneath the shoulder line here. So we like start it like about here. And I'd have it going straight across, and I would do like a row of pumpkin leaves with vines, and maybe have some of the vines hanging down. I think that would be really cool and have that nice transition coming down. And honestly, I would probably do this with like some hook and bars, so that I could just put the cape on and take the cape off for if I want to wear it with or without a cape, because it doesn't seem to be anything where it's being tied. I mean, yeah, this looks like more of a feature piece rather than a tie at the front. So I would have that with hooks and bars at the back, because also I would have the closure at the back of this, so it's easy to get in and out. And yeah, with that hook and bars for the cape, it means that you'll be able to get in and out of this cosplay quite easily. I forgot to mention, for the shorts and for the skirt, I would, this one, the underskirt for over here, I'd have that on an elastic, so it's just like a pull up, nice and easy. For this one, I'd probably have a zip in the back. And for the shorts, I would probably have a zip in the back as well, because it's going to be covered by the cape, if you choose to wear the cape. For the cape itself, really cool kind of design. It doesn't flow like this. It's not like flowy. So you could use a heavier type of fabric, and it is fully lined by the looks of things. So you could do this in a satin stitch, which I think would look so beautiful. So all the kind of veins as like a satin stitch. Okay. And if you want to be extra, put some rhinestones on it. Why not? And yeah, you would need to design the cape so that the base of it. So cape for this would probably be like a half circle skirt, similar to that kind of situation. And then the base of it, you would need to go around and create a very interesting kind of leaf pattern along the base of it. And I think that would look really cool. It's not too complicated. I say that. Am I making it? Probably not. All right, so moving on to the shield, which I adore. I would make this shield completely out of foam, just because it's going to be nice and light. And once again, I would use foam clay to do all of the details. So I'd create the base structure out of like a foam, a good like, I don't know, 7 to 10 mil foam. And then I would create like this out of foam clay. I would do like the raised textures of the foam out of foam clay, and then also these vines obviously out of foam clay as well. And I would just create a nice little handle in the back just to hold it all into place. Moving on to the sword. For the sword, I would also probably make this out of foam, just because it means that it's not going to be heavy. You could do the hilt maybe out of like a little bit of warbler perhaps. So like this section here out of warbler, and then this out of foam clay. Like sculpting that out of foam clay will be nice and easy for you. This out of foam and you know, really clean cuts. Just I think that way, you know, it's con safe. If you hit anyone with it, it's fine. I'd probably do some sort of support in the middle, like a wooden dowel or something like that. This would be the main structure point. So I would probably look at making this out of either PVC piping, or I would do foam with warbler. And then over here on these things, I would probably do this. I would probably do these leaves out of warbler, to be honest, just because that way they're going to be nice and sturdy. If you are going to catch this on anything, which is probably going to be the most likely part of all of your costume to catch on something, just because they're leaves on like the end of like pointy things. If you do them out of foam, they may very well rip. If they catch on something, warbler, they're going to be a bit more sturdy. And if it's warbler against warbler or warbler against plastic like PVC piping, worst case scenario, it will come off, bit of glue, you're fine, she's back on. So yeah, that's what I would do there. So warbler, and then for the hilt, we're going to do either PVC piping or warbler. Okay, so that is my breakdown for the pumpkin ladies. And let's talk about, firstly, would I do them? Short answer, yeah, I may do them. I would probably lean more towards the warrior lady, because I just find her design a lot more appealing personally, and a lot more different elements to it, which I think it excites me more. So I would probably do this one. Would I plan on doing this anytime soon? Probably not, just because at the moment I've done 2 sunset dragon designs pretty close together and I need to have a little bit of a breather. And yeah, I adore it though. I adore it, and I would probably need to wait until next year around about this time, because I feel like that is appropriate for that one. As for would it break me? Would I have a breakdown from doing this cosplay after doing the breakdown of this cosplay? No, I don't think so. I think that I would be able to do this, even this one, without a breakdown. This one I would probably have a bit more of a breakdown with, just because it's not a shape that really appeals to me very much as like an individual, where this shape does. So yeah, but I think I could do it. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning in for the first of this series of Breakdown Wednesdays. I hope that you've enjoyed it. In the comment, make sure that you comment, you know, which design you prefer and what you'd like to see me maybe do in the future. Which cosplay would you like me to break down? Alright guys, thank you so much. I'll see you on my regular ones on Saturday, and I'll see you next Wednesday for the next one. Bye!